I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comments. This is the time of the meeting that we invite anybody that has some information they'd like to share with the county board. Not seeing anybody this morning. We'll move on to the item number 2 on our agenda, the agenda review and adoption. This morning we have a couple of additions, amendments to the agenda. I'll turn it over to Mr. Hemsey. You want to explain 5.4 and 6.3?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since Diane Wabi left, bit of a struggle to pull this together, but we did it with a few changes. So we're proposing agenda amendment number 1 to add item 5.4 related to a rock climbing wall, and then we realize there's also an amendment to that, which is included in amendment. Let's see, amendment number 2. We're also adding Lake Minnewaska Regional Park. And then after we did that, we recognize under amendment number, you'll see under amendment number 2 that we wanted to delete the rock wall. So things changed after Thursday. And then finally, there's a third amendment proposed to the minutes, but for consideration under
Agenda review and adoption.
Agenda review and adoption. Those 3 items that would have to be, I'd suggest you take them up separately, Mr. Chair.
So that's why I turned it over to our Administrator Hemsey. So with the agenda review and adoption, we'll consider proposed amendment number 1 and proposed amendment number 2.
Move to approve as presented with the
Motion by
amendments.
Commissioner Fahey,
Second.
second by Commissioner Lynch. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion with those additions and deletions, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 3, the approval of the minutes of May 7th. That brings us to proposed agenda amendment number 3.
Mr. Chair, I move approval with the amendment adjustment.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 7th with modification, modification to number 3. Any discussion on that motion? On the discussion, I'm going to say I am going to vote against that motion because I don't feel the requested modification accurately depicts what I heard take place at the last meeting. And our minutes, as we've talked about in the past, our minutes are basically a summary of what goes on at the board meeting, not what we think should have gone on or maybe was thought about being gone on. So any other discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Uderman.
with your permission, I'd like to read what it is. I pride myself, if I make a no vote, is to let the taxpayers have transparency and know why I voted that way. And I know that maybe the people that are in the room aren't privy to the copy of this. I don't know if you've received the copy, so for the spirit of transparency, I'd like to read it and then take the vote.
Well, I think let's finish the discussion first. I'm not sure if reading the proposed modification is really necessary for this purpose of amending this agenda. Any other discussion on this motion?
I would agree with you, sir. I think the minutes are abbreviations, and I thought they depicted it very accurately.
Any other discussion? Seeing none or hearing none, all in favor of the motion to add this modification, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Motion fails. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as written in our board packet?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Lynch,
Second.
second by Commissioner Fahey. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Community announcements. Commissioner Workman, we'll start your end of the table.
I'm good today.
Thank you. Commissioner Ruderman.
Mr. Chair, I've got a number of them. First one is, I see that a number of law enforcement in the audience today. Wanted to call out Sheriff's Recognition last week. It's a great event. And to hear from a number of people within the community, outside the community, within our law enforcement, and some of the fantastic things that they've done. I've had a chance to do that, I think, the last 3 or 4 years. I don't know if there was interruption through COVID or not. I think it's 3 years in a row, and there was fellow commissioners there as well. So nice job. I think it's great that you continue to do that. Your MC did a nice job as well. Legislative priorities, we're just coming out of a Capitol session and trying to make shape out of whatever happened at the Capitol recently. And I sit on the Legislative Priorities Committee with Commissioner Fahey as well. And so we went through some of those updates today with our lobbyist, and I think that it's money well spent just to see what's going on there, keep a finger on the pulse, and we're still making sense out of a lot of that. Separately, we all have committee assignments, and one of the committee assignments I'm on is the Melsa Regional Library Board. We got a law passed. I think there was interest in loosening some of the requirements so that a broader group of candidates could apply for different roles. So when the executive director role that's now open posts, it'll be allowed a broader candidate pool because of the law passage. So I'm proud of that. I read a Star Tribune article that was talking about Edina now allows ADUs, so it's of interest. I know we just received a 300-page report from the CDA that talks about where we're deficient in housing within our county and some opportunities and solutions to be had there. And so keeping my eye on some of the local communities and what they're doing. ADU stands for Auxiliary Dwelling Unit. And so it's been a hot topic, and I think we'll be talking about that soon as well. It's the 4th year in a row that I've reached out to every staff member at Carver County and invited them to give their feedback. And I know that I've been a champion to try and hear where there might be places for us to do that in a more robust way. This year, the questions that I asked were, number one, what should we as a board focus on that's of interest to the frontline employees? And number two, would you recommend working at Carver County? And so the answer number one, by far and away, probably 5-1 of anything that was closer to it, was a need to continue to look at our healthcare costs, particularly for family plans. And so I bring that up because we're in the midst of an RFP, and it looks like there's some promising things to be had, but I'd be remiss if I didn't hear the amount of feedback. I bet there was probably 50 to 70 people that reached out, and they identified that. And I just want to say, for those listening and that are in the room, there's a lot of robust work that's being done with our HR partners and with our broker to look into that, and it's looking promising when we get a chance to digest that. Had a chance to be with folks at Greater MSP, another one of my assignments, and I had a chance to talk with the executive director, the vice president of investments, and dozens of other brokers and developers. It's an annual event that Greater MSP hosts. Peter is the executive director of Greater MSP, and I've made a request of Commissioner Degler that we invite Peter to come in the boardroom and give us a 30-minute update. We spend a good amount of money on that partnership, and just one lead that leads to business could be monumental. I think for a number of years we stalled out there. In the last 2 years, we've resurrected that relationship. And right now we have about 3 different leads that we're working that could be worth multi-million visits and several $100 million of economic impact. So Peter's made himself available. Commissioner Degler, if we can get that on the work session, that would be fantastic, or regular session, to hear from him. We welcome our first chief communications officer, I think is on the job starting next week, highly qualified individual. And she'll lead us not only in reacting to the things that we need to do in the communications space, but also getting out in our community and be proactive. I think it's a big move as we see our community grow. Carver County is the fastest growing county in the state, and this is just a marker of, as we evolve, where there's opportunity for new growth. Again, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the softball, soccer, flag football, and theater folks that are out and about in our community. I have a chance to see a bunch of those games, not just those kids and the youth, they'll be the future of our community, but the parents and the coaches that are on the field. And then lastly, I met with a group just last week that's developing an app for upstream youth mental health support. We all know that with increased costs, a lack of staff, and a tremendous need within our community, that there's a lot of people that are trying to crack the nut on youth mental health. And so in having an interaction with those folks, they're trying to work upstream to deliver a one-to-one service that leads into a digital experience to help people upstream. And so those are my comments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Lynch, anything to?
It's amazing to me that just a short while ago we thought about we're in a drought. We are no longer in a drought. And I feel sorry for the people who did the no mow May. I have mowed my lawn 3 times today, to date, and it's about 10 inches long last night. And as I was mowing, the mosquitoes that were just coming out of the lawn, so it's gonna be a bad year for mosquitoes also. So be very careful about that. And, but I did want to mention that across the county, there will be various Memorial Day services. So I want to go and make sure everyone goes and acknowledges our fallen dead. So with that, everyone have a wonderful Memorial Day.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Fahey?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Yes, also on that Memorial Day note, celebrating Memorial Day has been a longstanding tradition at Norwood Young America. Many families take part of this time of remembrance each year. We are so proud to celebrate Memorial Day and to take this opportunity to honor the many veterans from our community. The Memorial Day program will start at 10 a.m. on Monday, May 27th at Central Public Schools. We hope to see you there. Also, some other news from NYA that citizens will be noticing affects the ground removal efforts at Tacoma West Industrial Park. Phase 2, this is a 68-acre lot. This spring, the work will start. The council approved this final plat, followed by approving the infrastructure project. The city applied for and was awarded 2 significant grants to aid in funding this project. One was a Minnesota deed grant, and also, or from Minnesota deed was a Teddy grant. And that was an amount of $900,000. And then the Carver County CDA Community Growth Partnership Initiative Development Program grant. That was an amount of $100,000. So that's great to see that work and to see those funds funneled into economic development in the western part of the county. Also, the Andrew Peterson, the Carver County Historical Society announces the tours of the Andrew Peterson farmstead will be back again starting mid-May. We're excited to show off this house as it nears completion. Tours will be held on Tuesdays and Thursdays by appointment. You can book a tour by calling 952-442-4234 and ask for Jada. And hopefully you can come out and visit the Andrew Peterson farm. There's been tremendous amount of work done to the house itself. Also, I did have a chance to attend the Sheriff's Recognition event, just a great time, and thank you, Sheriff, to you and your staff for all your service. We greatly appreciate it. Also, Chair Degler and I, we participated in the Southern Valley Alliance ribbon cutting on the 16th. This was the opening of their new domestic abuse center in Shakopee, and according to the 16th annual for the state of Minnesota domestic violence counts report, during one day, there were 2,421 victims served in one day. So how do we know if it's domestic abuse? Per the literature that's provided in the website by the Southern Valley Alliance, domestic abuse is a willful intimidation, physical assault, battery, sexual assault, and/or other abusive behavior as part of a systematic pattern of power and control perpetrated by one intimate partner against another. Domestic violence is not just physical. This epidemic takes on many forms, including physical abuse and stalking, verbal and emotional abuse, financial abuse, digital and social abuse, culture and spiritual abuse. The frequency and severity of domestic violence can only be dramatically. However, the one constant component of domestic violence is one partner's consistent efforts to maintain power and control over the other. According to the U.S. government statistics, 95% of domestic violent cases involve women victims of male partners. Abusers may often seem wonderful and perfect initially, but gradually become more aggressive and controlling as relationships continue. Abuse may begin with behaviors that may easily be dismissed or downplayed, such as name-calling, threats, distrust.
Anything else?
Emotional and psychological abuse can often be just as extreme as physical violence. The Southern Valley Alliance is a partner and a resource in our communities we serve. Through increasing awareness, training, and building relationships, we can remove the stigma around domestic violence, educate our youth, inform our neighbors and partners. If you think you may be in an unhealthy relationship, call Southern Valley Alliance 24-hour confidential crisis line, 952-873-4214. And it was just a phenomenal event to see the people that turned out. All the different commissioners from Scott County were there, and just the support for that organization. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I just mentioned that Carver County is very supportive of Southern Valley, and we contribute as a board over $15,000 for this organization. Other things I'd like to mention, yesterday we had the opportunity to go to Chaska Middle School West. The teacher, Mr. Troy Schmutka, he has his government class of 7th and 8th graders, and we sit down, and not only the mayors of the surrounding communities here in District 112, city council members, and myself basically talked about government, city and county government. And it's interesting and fun to interact with these students as they ask questions. What is government actually about? How much does a city council person make? And it's just, like I say, the words, the questions that come from these middle schoolers are quite enlightening sometimes. I'd like to piggyback, mention that Memorial Day services are held both in Chaska and Chan. At Chaska, they visit all the different cemeteries, in Chan also, I should say. And then in Chaska, they end up at Town City Square Park, and the main speaker, I think, will be around 10 o'clock. In Chanhassen, they end up at the city center at noon, and the speaker there in Chanhassen this year is Mr. Dan Tingwald. He used to be our VSO at Carver County here, so looking forward to what Dan has to say. So with that, we'll move on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. This morning we have about a few items. We start with temporary staff members, professional service agreements for the Dakota Regional Rail Trailhead, another professional service agreement for the Highway 5310 roundabout. We have right-of-way acquisitions for the 1114 project. We have professional service agreement for the Strive program. We have an approval for a contract with Escape Properties. We have Freshwater Church as an annual special event. And finally, 2 events that the Youth Amateur Rodeo. And with that, is there a motion to approve the consent?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Uderman. I'll second that myself. Any discussion on that motion?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Commissioner
regarding
Fahey.
5.2 with the Dakota Rail Regional Trailhead, that's a great site across from the old creamery on County Road 10, just north of Waconia and south of Highway 7. I've had the chance to bike and also run on that trail multiple times, and I've parked my car along that trail, along County Road 10, so this is going to be a great addition if we can make this happen with this popular access, just to make it a lot safer.
So how many people know where the Waconia Creamery is, or was?
Mr. Lynch does.
Any other discussion?
Only that I'd like to thank Lyndon for this, because I've been badgering him for years about this.
All in favor of the motion to approve the consent as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 6.1, Metropolitan Solid Waste Planning Group appointment. We'll bring up Mr. Brad Hensel, recently newly appointed Environmental Service Manager. Welcome,
Yes,
Brad.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Brad Hansel with Environmental Services, going to talk to you today about Metropolitan Solid Waste Planning Group that the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency is assembling. And we'll be asking the commissioners to appoint one commissioner to serve on this group. So why is the MPCA organizing a solid waste planning group? The newly adopted Metropolitan Solid Waste Management Policy Plan that was just prepared and adopted by the Pollution Control Agency on January 30th of this year includes a strategy requiring all metropolitan counties to participate in an annual joint meeting between commissioners and staff meeting on solid waste. So the goals of these annual meetings will be to discuss relevant waste topics and the challenges that the counties are facing now and into the future, to provide consistency in the region and collaboration opportunities among the 7 metro counties. And that's really important right now as all 7 counties are currently updating their solid waste management plans. And the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency will be taking the lead in organizing this meeting at the inception. All right, so currently the metro counties do not have a formal waste management district. There are a lot of counties throughout the state that do have waste management districts. However, it is important for counties to implement certain strategies on a regional level. So it's very important for us to communicate and work together. Going back to what I mentioned earlier, consistency and collaboration amongst the metro region. As some of you may know, Carver County did participate in a metro solid waste group for nearly 24 years, and that was the Solid Waste Management Coordinating Board. The Coordinating Board was formed in 1993 by the 7 metro counties, and the purpose was to guide waste management efforts throughout the Twin Cities area. The Solid Waste Management Coordinating Board continued to meet through December 31st of 2017, when the metro counties decided to end that joint powers agreement at that time. Association of Minnesota Counties. So AMC District 10 would also like to connect with the commissioners representing this MPCA group. The thought is to hold one initial virtual meeting and determine if there is a need for future meetings. There's no need to overlap. If what the MPCA is covering would suffice, there's no need to continue to meet, but they do want to have an initial meeting as well. County representatives. So to date, there are 2 counties that have appointed commissioners. That's Dakota County and Scott County. The other 4 counties are currently going through the process that we're going through today. So at this time, staff is looking for a motion to appoint 1 commissioner to the Metropolitan Solid Waste Planning Group, and which will take place at the beginning annually. And this appointment would be for 2024, and we would have to have an appointment every year at the beginning of each year when the commissioner appointments are made.
Well, I would like to nominate Commissioner Tom Workman. Tom's got more experience with solid waste than anybody, I think, on this board. Unless Tom has, you were on the swim club before that disbanded, so.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I have no experience with cow manure like you, so.
We don't have too much of that in the metro area anymore.
Yeah, I didn't find this, we called it the swim club, of course, Solid Waste Management Coordinating Board, and I didn't ever really find that a very effectual group. They spent a lot of money. So is this a mini swim club, Brad? So 7 commissioners, 7, I'm assuming you're gonna be there or somebody? And we're gonna just sort of have a lot of chit chat about solid waste? And
Correct, Commissioner Workman. Yes, it would be 7 commissioners and then staff, lead staff. Annual meeting, nothing like Solid Waste Management Coordinating Board that I think we paid $60,000 to $70,000 per year for the membership to that group. Yes, not nearly at that level.
1 meeting?
That's in the solid waste policy plan. It does list 1 annual meeting each year. So, yep.
That's how they get you, Tom, just one.
Yeah. Did I look trusting? That's fine. I enjoy talking about the topic. It's a big topic. 30 years ago, they said we had 5 to 7 years of landfill space left. Here we are. We still have 10 years of landfill space left. So that's sort of how the dialogue goes. But I'd be more than happy to drive really fast down there with Brad. So
So I make the motion. Is there a second?
I would second.
Motion by myself, second by Commissioner Lynch to appoint Commissioner Tom Workman to this solid waste group. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Brad. You are appointed. 6.3, the construction of the Lake Minnewaska Regional Park Creative Playground Project. Mr. Marty Walsh, Parks and Rec Director. Welcome, Marty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Exciting to talk about a new playground, right? We'll walk through this, so I've got to get used to the new technology here in terms of advancing slides. So the current playground at Lake Minnewaska, we're showing a few slides here. Areas of it are in a state of deterioration. You can see the resilient surfacing is starting to wear. The slides, as I've presented in the past, the colored segments on the tube slide there represents a repair, if you will. Retaining walls also deteriorating. So for nearly 30 years, we've gotten really good value out of that playground. But it's time to replace it.
Just out of curiosity, what do you do with a used playground?
Well, there isn't really a good use for it. It's going to end up being as much as it can being recycled and disposed of, because again, it's aged. You can't take it out and think that you're going to reassemble it someplace that it's got concrete footings on it, that type of thing. And so it's just not something that's easily salvageable, and the cost to do that would be cost prohibitive, really.
And the other question I had is P-rock not recommended. Why?
Why? It just doesn't have the fall resiliency or the fall cushioning that other surface materials now have today, such as the rubberized surface here is a better surface. And then a wood chip product is also much more cushioning than the P-rock surface.
Some of us grew up with asphalt.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
So thanks, Mr. Chair, for the questions. We did go through kind of an initial concept planning of where we would put the new playground area, and it's adjacent to the old or existing playground structure there, but we are moving it down the embankment. So if you're familiar with the playground equipment at Minnewaska, it's set up high, and there is an accessible route that does get you up there, but we are looking to make this even better or more accessible by bringing it down the slope. And so it will be pushed out into a little bit of the open space that's adjacent to our Lakeview shelter that's in that location. So you can kind of see where that's situated. We did take a look at a couple other options within the park, and again, the proximity of the existing restroom facilities and water and parking were all things that kind of came into play, and it just made sense to continue to have it in that general vicinity. There we go. And so just have a couple of slides here to show you about the playground equipment. It is a Burke product that's provided by St. Croix Recreation. And so the top portion of that image gives you kind of an overall layout. And then we're going to try the pointer here. This area here is still part of the embankment, if you will, of the hillside. So there is an elevation change from here to here, and that's being utilized in a couple of different creative ways in terms of a roller slide, a little climbing rope, and then some steps that would go up the embankment. So we're still trying to utilize the topography that we have there at the park. But this is the larger playground structure, and then the under 5 area play. We do have some sensory or some sound play, and then some creative play with boulders, and then a little playhouse here as an example. Again, just an image of the larger portion of the playground apparatus. One of the things that we really looked at was something that was a bit unique to the area. We did not see that we saw others that had this kind of, I'll say, kind of netting or climbing material here. So more of a signature feature that we were looking at for a destination playground was something that was a bit more unique. And again, just an up-close picture of the under 5 playground apparatus. Next slide. Again, kind of another overall general view of the playground area. Again, kind of highlighting that this part here, there's actually an elevation change from here to here. And then the larger structure down below where it's more accessible. Next slide. And so just to talk a little bit about the overall project itself. So the Blackstone Contractors was the lowest contractor for the construction of the site. We accepted alternates 2, 3, 4, and 5, and really the alternates were a way for us to manage the overall cost. So for example, if the prices came in too high, a lot of the removal work we may have tried to do ourselves. And so that's what a lot of the alternates are related to. We did put in a 10% construction contingency for the project. Again, the playground equipment is actually a Burke product provided by St. Croix Recreation. They are located out of Stillwater. The play equipment installation would be by Mac Bassett. He is a certified playground installer for that playground equipment. So we would be contracting with him for that service. Our consultant services, which we already have a contract for, we're showing that price there again at just under $90,000. We have some construction testing. We're estimating that to be at about $10,000 for a total of about $1,188,000 and some change. So a very significant investment into the park. And then just to take a look at the funding resources. So there are no general fund dollars involved in the project. We do have a number of grants, an existing grant that we are working with, which is SG 24-20301, which is state bond funds. And so that came from the last legislative session for the $862,000 and change. We have another existing grant from Parks and Trails Fund of $217,783. And then we are approved for additional funding, but the grant period will start July 1 of this year. And for an additional, we'll use an additional $107,000, nearly $108,000 of those funds for the project. And so with that, Mr. Chair, that the total project cost of a little over 1.1, nearly $1.2 million is the project cost. And so the requested action, Mr. Chair and members, is the contract with Blackstone Contractors LLC for $551,204.98. Authorize the purchase of playground equipment from St. Croix Recreation for $418,569.72. Contract with Michael Bassett for $64,000 to install the playground equipment. Authorize the execution of the grant agreement. This is for the state bond funds, SG 24P203-01. And then to provide a resolution. So the state bond funds require one more step, which is the resolution, which we've provided, that indicates that we are committed to completing the project. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I'll stand for questions.
The first question, Marty, these grants, do they have an expiration date? Do we have the money in the bank now that we're going to pay cash? How do those grants work?
So the grants are approved. They're approved. They are reimbursement. So we always have to make the expenses first, and then we get reimbursed for the funding.
So we don't make interest in the meantime?
That's correct.
Okay, other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Fahey.
What's the projected life, Marty, of the new equipment? Is that 30, 40-year time frame?
Well, Mr. Chair, members, that's a great question. Typically, playground equipment are replaced between about 15 and 20 years. We've extended the life of the existing playground.
Kids last longer than that.
We'll cycle several generations of kids through the playground equipment, but yeah, the safety standards change, equipment wears out. Again, I think it's about 5 years ago, we made a substantial investment into the playground area, just as what I'll say is the kind of a stopgap measure until we were able to secure enough funding to move forward with things. But 15 to 20 years is a pretty good timeline to expect.
And then this was vetted by the Park Commission and they were on board?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the
100%?
Park Commission had made recommendations both for the playground and color selection on the equipment, and then had seen the bid proposals we did receive, I think 6 qualified quotes for the construction of the site, and so they also made recommendation on that. And then further, just in terms of, I'll say, some public engagement, I'll say the project began about a year ago with initial site meetings at Minnewaska Regional Park. We had an online survey with the public that followed that after that. And then we also worked with 4th and 5th graders out of Clover Ridge Elementary School to get some input from them on things. And then finally, I think our last public engagement was a virtual open house for the project. So we did try to reach out, to get some opinions on things, and then ultimately kind of landed where we are today with the project.
Other questions? Commissioner Ruderman.
Mr. Chair, I'm guessing that the removal is part of that quote too?
So, yes, the construction contractor will be doing the removals. We just do not have the time for our staff to do that work at this time of the year.
And then, as I know, as we grow and our holdings improve, this one lasted 25 years. Do we budget for the replacement in 25 years, or is that just a wait and see what bond dollars fall from the sky?
Mr. Chair and members, we are working on an asset management plan which will begin to address, I think, the long-term replacement of our capital assets. So we don't have that plan today, but we are working on it.
I was at Minnewaska when they had some staff on hand to seek insights from the people that were utilizing the beach and whatnot. And my mind, I don't know if it was the same project or not, but there was a pathway to have something I think they call nature play. So I was a little surprised to see slides and swings and not more nature play. Were they two different work streams or the same one?
Yeah, we have one element in, well, the nature play piece is a couple different things. You saw the rock boulders as part of the nature play in the diagram. We have one, and I can get you I'll say the diagram, commissioners. There is one, what I'll say is nature play apparatus.
Yep.
That is a wooden structure.
Okay. We always bring different pieces to the equation, but one of the ones I bring to the table, the only active commissioner that's got school-age kids right now. And so we spend a lot of time at parks. In fact, we explored one on Sunday in Shakopee. I guess it's a multi-generational thing. I'd never been there. It was great. And the elements I've noticed in these parks that Tenley and Brooklyn go to is the inclusive nature. What it looks like this one is accessible for people with all abilities. And the thing that everybody migrated to most in that one was a zip line. And I've seen those in other areas. It's something that I don't think outside of Waconia that we have that element. And I don't know if you can adjust or add or whatever, but I just, from firsthand experience, I'd say it probably makes sense for us to consider that now or in the future, where it might go. Is there one in there? I missed it.
Yeah, I'm trying to see, there is one in there, but unfortunately the pictures that I've
Okay.
selected here,
There is one?
yeah, does not
Okay.
show the zip line. Actually, there's a pair of zip line,
Okay.
they're tandem.
Yeah, I just think it's a feature, and I guess my last comment is this, you know, there's a lot of tot lots that have slides and swings, a lot of them. I think there's an opportunity for whatever our next park opportunity is, to do something very different that's regionally significant, that people would come and see and be a destination. I've seen that manifest itself in Waconia at their inclusive park. And I've heard challenge course has come up a lot, like a Ninja Warrior type course that's inclusive but highly used. And then the fitness of our youth and attraction, all those things. So nice job. It's rare that in 25 years we didn't have a new, and then here we are 25 years later, we got a new building at Paradise Commons. We have $1 million+ playground, and nice job. Thank you.
You were right when you said you were probably the only one that had school-age kids, but some of us have school-age grandkids, and we know what playgrounds are like. And when it comes to zip lines, they're almost really hard to get insured, depending upon what type of zip line you're talking about. I mean, we were thinking of higher zip lines, a little bit faster than these zip lines, but they are fun. Other questions, comments for Marty? Commissioner Lynch.
Yep, this came through the park commission. We went out and we toured, and I went down the slide one more last time, and I didn't get saved by emergency services, so that was a plus. So we did that. That was a lot of fun. The one you asked if we could set that up someplace else. Again, then you just mentioned that the liability would be cost prohibitive on something like that. And it's something we've been working on with Marty and Lyndon for quite some time, that asset management plan, so that you can replace it in, in the future, and it's scheduled. So it's a great idea, and thanks for bringing it up, Commissioner Ruderman. But with that, no, I have no other comments.
A question for our county attorney. We have about 5 different things that are requested. Can we group that as one motion, or do you want to take all 5 separate?
Mr. Chairman, I think you can group it.
Okay, you heard the county attorney. Commissioner Ruderman,
I move approval for all 5.
is there a second?
I would second.
Motion by Commissioner Ruderman, second by Commissioner Lynch, to approve the requested motions here, all 5 of them. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Marty.
Thank you.
That brings us to Jennifer on the public hearing for the cannabis use. With that, we need a motion to open the continued public hearing to consider amendments to Chapter 91 of the Carver County Code of Ordinance and consider the adoption of Chapter 94 of the Carver County Code of Ordinance.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Ruderman.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Workman. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We're now in the public hearing. Jennifer, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I am back, as you noted, for the, hopefully, the final hearing on continuation from the May 7th hearing. I really.
Is that because you don't want to hear us or see
Well,
us?
I'm always happy to be here. I'm also here with Lynn Walters, who's worked on this, these ordinances with me, and Marty Walsh, who's been part of this as well. So if there are questions, we're all here, hopefully, to get them answered today. I am mainly here I think I have like 3 slides because I'm addressing the one issue that was raised by the citizen, if you recall, at the meeting on the 7th, which had to do with lower potency hemp-derived consumables, edibles, or THC beverages. And the citizen, the gentleman, as you recall, had a particular interest in that he's a part owner of a beverage business that sells these THC-infused drinks. The concern was, and I'll jump to the language, so that the way the ordinance that I proposed to you on the 7th read, specifically in the highlighted portion, discusses, what the prohibited acts are, and kind of midway through in that it talks about the exception of, so basically prohibits public use of these cannabis products, hemp-derived consumer products in a public place, with the exception of establishments or events licensed to permit on-site consumption. And then it's on-site consumption of cannabis flower and cannabis products. So oddly, the proposed ordinance, the model ordinance, the other county ordinances that have been adopted don't make an explicit exception for on-site consumption of these lower potency hemp-derived products. We think that is because those, and the gentleman mentioned this, those have been allowed since a law passed in July of 2022. They are currently regulated by the Commissioner of Health. They are, we believe, going to ultimately fall under the umbrella of the Office of Cannabis Management when they get up and running. We believe that there might be licensing issued or required of those products potentially once it comes under that umbrella of Office of Cannabis Management, but as it stands right now, those beverages are not subject to a license. They're required to be registered with the state, but they're not required to be licensed. So it's just a little confusing. The way that largely Lynn's masterful language and she and I worked on, we think we have clarified our ordinance by using that same language that I just read to you with bold in the previous slide and adding that or an establishment or event licensed or registered with the state to permit on-site consumption of lower potency hemp edibles. So we weren't, and I think we talked about this on the 7th, there was no intent in our ordinance to change what is already legal and being done and has been done since at least 2022. These breweries, the sale, retail sale, none of this is, nothing in our ordinance is acting to prohibit that, but we think that this language makes that very clear and hopefully addresses any concerns on that one issue. So I think, whoops, turned it off. I think that was my last slide. Guess it is because
The computer is saying yes.
I thought there was one more, but so that's it. With that, if there's other questions about the ordinance in general or about this issue, we can try and address it.
We'll ask for the board's questions first, and then this is a public hearing, so we will open it up to the public. Questions for the board? Commissioner Ruderman.
Mr. Chair, Jennifer, a lot of work done on this. It's very laborious. I really had one big question, and it was of law enforcement, is how do you enforce this? And they had a chance to review it as well, and I don't want to speak for you, Jason, but they had a chance to look at it and said they're fine with the way it is. So I'm good to go. I appreciate all the work.
Any other questions, comments from the board right now? Commissioner Workman.
Well, I too thank you to our staff for getting this all figured out for us. I never thought we should go down this slippery slope. I think it's just something that's going to continue. Everybody's going to walk around high and drive high and do whatever. And I don't like to be the big fuddy-duddy of the whole group here, but It just seems like it's slipping downhill. It's pervading our schools. You know, back in the 70s at Chaska High School, they would go down the halls with dogs on the weekend maybe and see what was up in these lockers. And they can't do that anymore. They don't do it anymore, right? Might offend somebody, kids don't even have their backpacks in their lockers anymore. So this is going to make us safe as far as legalities go, but I'm not happy about where it's going.
Any other comments at this point? Commissioner Lynch?
We had the gentleman last week, and he actually came in, he told us about the THC beverages, and I had never heard of them. So it's kind of out of my wheelhouse. So then he asked, where do you get them? He goes, well, Total Wine in Chanhassen. So I went to Total Wine in Chanhassen. I sat in the aisle and went like this. Yeah, he was right. So it's here. I agree with Commissioner Workman. Most of the time, it is a slippery slope. We have to do what we have to do. So
I guess you don't have to go to the park to go sliding down. Any other comments by commissioners? This is a public hearing. Last meeting, we had somebody from the public that had this interesting comment that made us do some more research on it. Open to the public. Anybody have any comments? Sheriff, you want to verify what Commissioner Uderman said? Are you're comfortable? How do you enforce this?
Mr. Chair, that is indeed an accurate statement. I have no concerns about the enforceability of the ordinance.
Thank you.
I would move to close the public hearing.
We have a motion to close the public hearing. It's motion by Commissioner Workman, second by Commissioner Lynch. Any discussion?
that was him.
Oh, I heard something, but okay. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We are closed. Now, what's the wishes of this board? Commissioner
Move
Workman.
approval. Man.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Workman, seconded by Commissioner Fahey to adopt the resolution approving the ordinance regulating the use of cannabis and cannabis-derived products in public places and amending the Parks and Recreation Ordinance. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Brings us to item 7.1, UAS, Unmanned Aerial System Public Comment Meeting. And that takes us to the sheriff. Welcome, Jason.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you. I think you might recall, we had some conversation at a work session about public safety dollars that came from the state and some of the initiatives that we might want to look at. And UAVs, UAS is part of that, was part of that initial discussion. And they're pretty heavily regulated by the statute in terms of how they can be used and what they can be used for and so on and such. And part of the statute requires us to provide an opportunity for public comment, which of course is different than the public hearing, which you just had. And so the governing body with jurisdiction over the budget of local law enforcement, the county board, must provide an opportunity for public comment at a regularly scheduled meeting. And so that's why we're here today. Now, I want to be very clear on this point. I have some of my team here. They are here as a show of interest and support. It's not a show of force. So we will.
I want them on my side. I don't
Yeah.
care.
So as I look around, I recognize everybody here is staff, and so I'm doubtful they'll have any public comment. I mean, but I will say, I want for the people who are watching and listening and who will review the minutes, I'm happy to receive any input people might have via phone calls, emails. Stop me at, and visit with me at one of the Memorial Day events. I'm happy to hear what people think about how these systems might be used in our public safety mission.
Question, Sheriff. Do you at this point have a UAV?
We do not.
Yes.
The intention here is to solicit public comment, kind of hear what people think about these systems and how we would use them in our public safety ops. And then, once we'll have that information, that will help us make a more informed decision about which specific systems to look at. How many do we think we would need? What might the policies look like? Things like that. So, we'll probably wait a couple of weeks here to see what kind of feedback we get, and then we'll start looking at specific units and vendors and so and such.
So you brought this information to us now. You will not return with some more information in the future? When people hear this, they could just contact you directly, or should they come to a board meeting expecting to see you here to solicit input?
Well, I think the next step will be people can reach out to the sheriff's office, again, telephone, via email, or, you know, if you see me at community events, obviously, I'm happy to.
Or any of your other,
Or any of the command staff.
yep.
The next time you see us on this topic will be to come, we will have found a vendor and have the price point, and we will come and look for board approval to allocate those public safety dollars to that particular project. And I would then have more information about the specific systems. I will talk about any public comment we received and how we arrived where we.
And
where
would
we
this
did.
be this year's budget item, or is this probably something that might be in next year's, or all of the above?
Good question. So we received money from the state in their 2023 budget that we received in December of 2023 as the public safety dollars. And this is that pocket or pool of money that's setting to be used on these sorts of things. And so it's already funded, and assuming the board approves the expenditure, that's the money we would use. So it would be, we would try to do it this year yet.
Okay. Commissioner Workman?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I haven't read the statute or anything. Is this sheriff kind of falling in the line of, is it being, I feel like we're being a little touchy with this. Is this because it's falls under some surveillance stuff, maybe borderline military grade stuff? What would people be, this seems like the future, or a big part, a tool
Is this
of
Big Brother
law
watching?
enforcement. Yeah, I mean, why are they, it seems natural that we would maybe go this way. It seems like a lot of things are going this way. I'm just wondering, what are we worried about?
That's a, Commissioner, Mr. Chair, excellent question. And I think I didn't pay attention during the debate portions of the development of this particular statute, but in looking at it, it is pretty clear that the privacy interests are the legislature was trying to ensure that government was using it for very specific and narrowly defined public safety things. And many of them require court approval. So there's an independent third party saying, okay, you have a reasonable basis to use the equipment for this activity. And so I think the privacy interests were right there, and that's why the statute's written the way it is.
Other questions, concerns? Mosquito control has a number of these drones that fly over. How am I gonna tell the difference between your type of UAV versus a mosquito control drone that flies over, or my nosy neighbor who has a remote control thing?
I don't think that from the ground you will know much of a difference because some of them are a little bit bigger and you can see them and hear them, but I don't know that you would be able to read clearly what they are. But I think you can tell the difference between the toy variety and the FAA regulated variety that we would have. And so, but, you know, because it'll have lights on it. It'll probably be flown in for example, we used one in Chanhassen a week or two ago to map a crime scene. and BCA came in and did this, and it's pretty clear that it's on a pattern that is, it's very obvious that it is a more sophisticated unit than the ones that most of your neighbors have.
I'm not a hunter, so I can't really, and we live in Chanhassen, so we can't shoot firearms anyway. What stops people from shooting these things down?
I hope it's their aim. But, truth be told, every time I've seen them deployed in a public safety matter, it's pretty clear that it's a
Okay.
law enforcement sort of thing.
Any more questions for the sheriff? Commissioner Lynch?
I could see a lot of uses. We've been seeing some catastrophic shootings of police officers in domestic, and I could see sending this in first or something. Question for you, and you're not reinventing the wheel. You already know what works. I assume we're on like the third, fourth, fifth generation of drones now. But in McLeod County and Winston a while back, there was a shooting where the deputies actually entered a house. They were actually both wounded. They came back out. Then they surrounded the house and then sent in a UAV, I believe. And BCA would have had that, or who?
They might have had it, but McLeod County might have the equipment. BCA certainly does. Some tactical teams have it, and they use it exactly for what you're describing. Is they'll blow out a window and they'll fly in. We have a remote control car kind of thing, so we can go in the door and drive on the ground. But pardon me, the aerial one is a little bit more. Our drone, if it runs into a door, that's as far as you can go. But with the UAV, of course, you can go into a room, come out, enter another one through a different window and whatnot. So that is the application.
So like your car, if it's a split level house, you can go to the entryway and that's it. It doesn't go up and downstairs?
No, Lieutenant Pufall could talk a little bit more about it, but it moves around pretty good.
Okay, good.
Any other final questions? I think the statute said you need 5 or 10 minutes, and we've given you that much time, so.
Yeah, I think the board should probably solicit public input if there is any, and if there isn't, then I would say we could move on to the next step.
Let's open up to anybody from the, want to make some comments? We're here. If not, thank you, Sheriff. Look forward to the next time we see you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Item number 8.1, Hennepin Carver Workforce Development Board Local and Regional Plan. Kate Proverts from Health and Human Services. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you. Good morning. All right, so we will have a brief update on Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act local plan. Let's see if I can figure it out. All right, so just a couple of reminders. I want to remind everyone that Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, that we refer to as WIOLA, has been signed into law on July 22nd, 2014, and really designed to help job seekers access employment and education and help employers to get qualified and skilled workforce. Law requires state of Minnesota to submit plan to the government, to federal government every 3 years, and the way state submits their plan is by requiring local areas to submit a local plan every 3 years to the governor. As a reminder, we have 16 workforce development areas, and currently Workforce Development and Opportunity Act on April 11th passed Congress, passed House, and focuses on a lot of reskilling and retooling workforce. It's currently sitting in Congress with Senate, who is planning on drafting their own bill. So currently we're operating under continuous resolutions for this act, as it's way overdue for reauthorization. Carver County Workforce Development Board has a joint power agreement between Hennepin and Carver counties. And collectively, we serve in communities of suburban Hennepin County and Carver County. City of Minneapolis is not part of Hennepin Carver Workforce Development Board, as it has a standalone workforce development entity. Carver County's joint power agreement is due to be extended and will be coming to the board in the next few weeks for consideration for extension. And Hennepin Carver Workforce Development Board guides all the work. Workforce Development Boards consists of 52% of businesses, and the rest of the 17 members of the board is community-based organization, colleges, and schools. Carver County does have employers and economic development representation on the board. There's 8 regions in state of Minnesota, and Carver County, Hennepin County Board is in the region 4, which is Twin Cities region. In front of you is a vision of the Workforce Development Board, because it is really focusing to support community and employers and provide economic prosperity for all. Workforce Board mission is focusing on fostering economic development, providing skilled pipelines, and work alongside with community to engage workforce development programs. Here is some key highlights from our local plan. Our local plan focuses on addressing cultural and economic disparities across education, employment, housing, transportation, and broadband. It focuses on integrating program and resources which within our workforce economic development area. Carver County is really uniquely positioned to meet those goals as our workforce embedded in our health and human services. So collectively maximizing our resources and our staffing, we can provide comprehensive assessments and supports to the individuals and families who are seeking employment. Expanding access to public programs and individuals also who are underserved. And we have been really active in the community by locating our staff in libraries, as well as moving them to Bountiful Basket to provide economic opportunities and workforce development connections throughout communities. So we actually don't just provide services out of the career force alone. We're focusing on creating career pathways and partnerships. We want to deeply thank you again, our board, for dedicating funds for career pathways, and we're currently working with Intermediate School District and Three Rivers Park on Trade 360 opportunities to build cabins, as well as working with 2 of our local cities to upskill their employees and get them higher level of CDA licensing so they could get better pay and provide better services to our residents. We're focusing on making sure that we have career pathway services and partnership in place by partnering with our local colleges, increasing abilities for employers to hire employees. We will be having a skill-based hiring event. We entering a contract with Goodwill Easterseals, who will be providing employers with an information on a skill-based hiring, and we will be inviting our local employers to attend the event and gain necessary information regarding the process. We actively promoting services by participating in different community events, as well as ensuring that participants and residents have access to experiential learning by providing them internship opportunities. Carver County itself serves as one of the employers, and we partnered with our employer relationship who provides a specific educational training to ensure that all of our interns have deep knowledge in how to operate within government systems and safely place with public and private employers outside of Carver County. We do focus on partnerships with our local chambers to create opportunities for employers to not just learn about skill-based employment, but literally to ensure that they have interns and potentially consider interns to be hired. So our local plan really focuses on the following on-demand sectors, and specifically for Carver County, we're focusing on healthcare, manufacturing, retail, trades, accommodation, and food services. This is where we're seeing the most job openings as we get in information through our labor market resources, and we're focusing on providing skills and direct connections to jobs. We're doing it, as I pointed out, through, so to speak, circle of engagement by partnering with local cities economic developers, focusing on bringing employers to the career force or community, or participating in existing job fairs, focusing on offering paid education to community members, and ensuring that we continue to provide holistic services in our career force location, which is right here in this building, and it's open for services Monday through Friday. What is our future holds for us? This is a wild guess, but we continue to talk about careers in green sectors, careers that are driven by technology. We continue to think about manufacturing and trades that will be looking very different to what they're looking now. Again, we're seeing a lot of technology going into place. We're seeing a huge shift towards trades market right now. So while job market is still very hot and there's a lot of job opportunities, we're seeing a decrease in jobs in the professional sector, and we see an increase of jobs availability in manufacturing and trades. And it's really driven again by our future, where there's be more investment in artificial intelligence, technology, computers, everything is going towards automation. We really want to start focusing on youth. For the first year, currently, we have more youth recruited than ever, and we're working with employers to get them websites for placements. We're trying to provide opportunities for youth to do experiential learning on the jobs to help them understand different pathways outside of traditional four-year colleges or master's degree, and really trying to help youth choose their path based on their own needs and the skills that they have. So with that, we really do feel that the local plan that has been put in place and in partnership with Hennepin County staff truly supports needs of Carver County residents. And we're asking our board to please approve the Hennepin Carver Workforce Development Area Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act Local and Regional Plan for 2024-2027, and authorize submission of the plan to the State of Minnesota Governor's Office. So with that, I also open for questions. So thank you.
As we're thinking of questions, I'll turn over to our county attorney. In our board packet, it looks like it's all one motion. On the way Kate had it presented here, it looks like two different motions. Again, can that be one motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Questions by the board? Commissioner Fahey.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Kate, you talk about the regional economic conditions and the focus on the in-demand industrial sectors, and then you talked about the engagement piece. Are you currently engaging with the liaison at the CDA about economic development?
Thank you, Commissioner, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So we have been actively engaging with economic development with CDA. We're currently waiting, for CDA is undergoing some changes, as you know, so our plan, of course, re-engage. I did talk with CDA vice presidents, so we do have plans to re-engage with economic development as well, of course, with the housing initiatives.
Great. And then also, could I get a copy of the existing plan emailed to me?
Absolutely, we would be happy to send you a full plan.
Thank you.
Other questions? If not, you hear the request was for this motion to approve the Hennepin Carver Workforce Development Area, WDA 09 Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, local and regional plan for 24 to 27, and authorize the submission of the plan to the state of Minnesota in the governor's office. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Uderman, second by Commissioner Workman. Any discussion on that motion?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to comment,
Uderman.
thank you for your work on this. I know it's been a challenge because there was effort to try and align with maybe closer of a peer group, like with Shakopee and Dakota, and there's challenges when you're attached to Hennepin on some of these things. It's been laborious to step into the space of the trades because particularly in Eastern Carver County, we're more positioned to push our kids down a four-year path. And I just applaud the efforts that you're doing. There's a lot of fruit and a lot of partnerships to be had, and a lot of that work gets done outside the boardroom. So thank you.
Yeah, even when you take out the city of Minneapolis, Hennepin County is still a beast.
Yep.
Any other comments in the discussion? All in favor of the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Well, just 1 second. We should have just maybe something was missed because of Diane not being here. We need our administrator's report. So Administrator Hemsey.
Well, we miss Diane, that's for sure. Boy, you know, I wish her well in her retirement, but it has been a significant challenge with the candidate coming in and then disappearing quickly. It sometimes happens. Let me thank, I called her Saint Lisa this morning because she has literally saved me, saved us, stepping in to the role temporarily. And by the way, Lisa has another job. She's an IT office manager. So she supervises the IT staff, central services, if you go down in the basement of the Justice Center. So Lisa, she's listening. Thank you. She's remote because she's doing 2 jobs, juggling balls. So great job. And there has really been a good team here, teamwork. And then I can't give you the full announcement, but I'm hoping we have an internal candidate that has verbally accepted at least. Can't let you know right now because it isn't finalized, but hopefully this week. Hopefully we'll get that person on board by June 3rd and head down a little bit of a steadier path. It has been rough. So I've asked division directors and others help get agenda items in on time. If you could help by, short-term contacting Lisa if you have calendaring issues or other requests, those sorts of things. That would be much appreciated. We'll get through it.
This is a team effort.
That's right, and you're included. So thank you for your patience. You know, again, we've sometimes things might get dropped. We'll pick them up and keep running with the ball. So busy, and related to that, busy summer calendar. Strategic planning retreat next week out of Paradise Commons. So let's cross our fingers for some good weather. Gather at 8:30. It says 9 on here, but we'll start around 9. But gather at 8:30.
I can make the boat.
All right. Okay. Out to Coney Island. Hopefully we get good
I
weather.
prefer like my own private boat if you can.
Yeah.
If the other one's full.
You know how to row, Commissioner, right?
Yes.
We'll get you out there.
University of Minnesota roll.
But then you can see the rest of the calendar again. There is a gap in the meetings. I think this is pretty typical with vacations. We did set up a special meeting for we have to call it a special meeting because it wasn't on the original calendar, for 212 bids. So we added that. I'm not planning on adding other items unless they're critical and trying to stretch out agenda topics. So pay attention to the calendar. It's shifting a little bit, but should be set for the summer. So that's it, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for the administrator?
Yeah, I do.
If not, we're back to, you have a question, Commissioner Workman?
I think I have a meeting conflict in July. I don't see it on my phone. I'll have to get back to you.
Contact.
But Lisa or I know, yeah, that's important. With our future calendar, we've been adding if a board member's not going to be there, because it sometimes definitely matters if we want everybody involved, full quorum, some item that you may particularly be interested in. So let me know. Okay, thank you.
If that, we're up to Commissioner Lynch. You were going to say something?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Go into work session.
Motion by Commissioner Lynch, second by Commissioner Workman to adjourn and going to the work session where we have 3 items on the work session. There is no discussion on that motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. And we'll take